Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final weeks of our fall webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue exploring top international universities. So far, we have had the pleasure of featuring 6 incredible institutions throughout September. As we approach the final weeks of our series, we are excited to introduce you to the last 3 universities. During these sessions, you will hear directly from each institution about their unique programs, admissions processes, and what makes them stand out. Tonight, I'm excited to have Universidad de Navarra from Spain with us. It's a very well-known private university in the city of Pamplona in Spain, the city that is famous for its yearly Running of the Bulls event. The webinar is organized by Global College Advisors, and you will hear more about GCA in just a moment. Before we start with the presentation, I want to mention a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function instead of the chat. We will have a Q&A session after the presentation. Finally, this webinar is being recorded, and we plan on posting the video on our YouTube channel, later on. So please check out our Global College Advisors YouTube channel if you would like to rewatch some of the information that will get shared today. With that, let's move into some introductions. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am Cornelia Betschart-Fortes, the founder of Global College Advisors, also GCA in short. We connect students with universities all over the world, including the United States. Global College Advisors provides personalized college consulting and helps students explore both US and international options to find the best academic and financial fit. From college research to application strategy, we are here to support students every step of the way. Tonight, we will hear from Universidad de Navarra, located in Pamplona, Spain. UNAV, as it is also called in short, is one of Spain's top private universities and has a strong Catholic identity. Students have the opportunity to choose among a variety of international programs and can also start out with a foundation year that prepares them for the academic rigor at UNAV later on. And with that, let me introduce you to our speaker this evening. It's my pleasure to welcome Marta Martinez. She is an international admissions representative for Universidad de Navarra and has worked in this position for 15 years. Marta is based in Texas and helps students and families to learn more about the university. She herself studied at Universidad de Navarra during college as a study abroad student, and she says that this time was one of the best experiences of her life. Ever since then, she has been an enthusiastic proponent of international study. Martha will introduce us today to UNAV and the many international programs and answer any questions you may have. Welcome, Martha. I will stop sharing my screen. Yeah, we're so happy you're here. Thanks for making the time. So I will stop sharing my screen and please go ahead and take it from here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm delighted to be here and very excited to share my love for the university, which has been ongoing since I was there about 20 years ago. So let me just begin. So the University of Navarra, as Cornelia said, is located in Pamplona. Here you can see a picture of our campus. We're very proud of the fact that our campus is very, very green. It's very cohesive. This is unusual in Europe in general, where most of the college campuses are kind of sprinkled throughout the city. And yet ours, like I said, it's very cohesive. It's very green. You really know that you're on a university campus when you step foot there. So when you think of Navarra, think of Pamplona, which is this first little dot up here on the right, on the northern border with France, and San Sebastián. So San Sebastián and Pamplona are the 2 cities where our undergraduate degrees are located. The main campus is Pamplona, and then only the School of Engineering is going to be in San Sebastián, which is really now on the northern coast. We do have graduate schools in Madrid and Barcelona, which is primarily for ESE, which is our graduate school of business. It's always top 10 in the world. And then we have some other continuing education campuses in New York and in Brazil and other parts. But really, when you think of undergraduate degrees, think of Pamplona primarily, and then engineering in San Sebastián. So Pamplona, as Cornelia mentioned, is known, it's famous for the Running of the Bulls. That's always in July. It's famous for Hemingway. It has extraordinary food. It's very old, very cultural. You can go there and see the Citadel that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. It's a small town. It's very safe. It's very clean, and it has a very high standard of living. I like to emphasize to parents that sending your child there is an extraordinary decision because you know they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be safe. They're going to have a wonderful time, and they're going to study very, very hard. So I consider it a win-win. I can tell you from my own experience, my son is there now. He's 5,000 miles away, and I am so happy that he's in such a wonderful place. So it's hard to miss your child when you know they're in such a wonderful place. This is a view of our university campus in Pamplona. So as you can see, some of the schools we point them out here. But really everything you see in green is part of the university campus. And then at the very center back of the screen, the big white building is our university hospital. It has been ranked in the top 100 hospitals in the world. And we also have a university hospital now in Madrid, which is probably about 5 years old. And then all the biomedical wing of the university is up in the top left corner as well. So all those buildings. And then Pamplona, the city, extends to the right, upper right corner of your screen. This is then the School of Engineering in San Sebastián. It's a much smaller campus. We probably have about 500 to 600 students in engineering, where the main campus is now 13,000 students. So the good thing about San Sebastián, it is one of the most beautiful cities in Spain and possibly the world. It has incredible food and life, and again, very safe. It's only 45-minute bus ride from Pamplona. So the two cities it's easy to connect with the two of them. As far as rankings, we're very proud of the fact that the Times Higher Ed has ranked us in the last 5 years very well. And they've recognized that we are doing an extraordinary job, especially in teaching. We are a research university. We are amongst the 250 best universities in the world. And given that there's, I don't know, some 20,000 universities probably, we're very proud of this. And then we are #1 in Spain as far as international orientation. As I mentioned before, we are very international, which means that 30% of our students are coming from abroad. We have 4,714 international students on our campus. We have over 450 agreements with different universities. And on our campus, we have 117 countries represented. So what I like to tell my American students is that when you come to Nevada, you are going to meet people and have friends and roommates from all over the world. They're going to be one from Russia and one from Ecuador and one from Philippines. And it's just amazing to meet so many people and places through them. So then the question is, what do you want to study? One of the main differences when you want to study in Europe and Spain, Pamplona in particular, is that you do have to choose an actual degree. Unlike US universities where you can just kind of choose a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science, and then you decide during your sophomore year, we do ask you to commit to a degree. So it does mean that the student has to do more of the legwork in high school to discern what they want to study, because you will be applying specifically to a biology degree or a business degree or whatever you want to study. So here you can see our different schools, and we do now have over 90 degrees that we offer. And I will enter into some detail in a minute. So the School of Engineering offers many of the engineerings that you find all over the world. The only one that I would think is kind of lacking here is civil or structural engineering. And the reason for that is that our degree in architecture is like a civil or structural engineer. So if you're interested in that one, I would direct you towards our degree in architecture because it is very heavy on math and physics. And it is a 5-year program, the architecture one. All the other degrees are shown are 4 years. You'll notice that the degrees that are highlighted in red, that means it's bilingual, which means that at least 50% of the degree of the 4 years will be in English. Now, many of these degrees will also start the first year in English, but they're not fully bilingual. In the School of Engineering, all of the engineerings begin with a common core, and they are all the first years in English for all the engineerings. Architecture, on the other hand, is all in Spanish. In our School of Science, as you'll notice, we have many of the degrees that people want, and then we have some that combine science with business and international science program. My son, the one that's there, is, for example, studying biochemistry with international science program, and his first year, almost all his classes are in English. And yet it's not considered a bilingual degree because not 50% of the whole degree is going to be in English. Like I said, for most of our students, having that first year in English sets the path so they can then do the rest in Spanish. And we do not believe that it's prudent to offer degrees fully in English. And the reason for that is that we want our students to live in Spain and to pick up the language while they're there. So we don't want to insulate them in an English-speaking environment, because the point of living abroad is to get yourself out there. In our law school, as you can see, we have several that are bilingual. Most of our students that are coming from abroad are going to apply to the Anglo-American law program or international relations, or maybe the global law program. International relations is definitely one of our more popular degrees, and I would direct students that are interested in diplomacy and working for a nonprofit, a UN type structure to that one of those. And then the School of Applied Management is for someone who likes business, but isn't that great at math. So if you like the front end side of business, you want to be much more practical, you don't want to do a bunch of accounting and statistics and calculus classes, I would direct you towards applied management. You are going to walk away with more languages. You're going to walk away with more of a commerce, logistics, human resources, and event planning's profile. In the School of Economics, you'll notice that it's all red because they're all bilingual. This is our most international school. It's 50% international, and it's a very strong school. It has a lot of applications, and of course, business is one of our top degrees. And part of the reason for that is because of ESA, our Graduate School of Business in Madrid and Barcelona is so strong, and so the trickle-down effect is very positive on us. As you can see here, you can combine business management with different types of certificates depending on your lean. And you do have double degrees like business management and law and economics and law as well. The School of Education and Psychology is all in Spanish. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that one, except to say that psychology is a very popular degree, and it is going to be all in Spanish. The School of Communication, on the other hand, has some in bilingual degrees. Marketing amongst them is one of our more popular ones. And it's been steadily ranked #1 in Spain for many years. And so this is a really vibrant, creative, hands-on school if you're interested in communication, audiovisual. If you're interested in screen studies, you want to go on to do animation and things like that. Here are the other degrees in communication, as I mentioned. And then you also have some double degrees. So you can do history and journalism, philosophy and journalism. A lot of students like to do that because it does a little bit of the abstract with the concrete, combining it together. And then within the School of Humanities, I'll just mention that we do have some students that are very enthusiastic about archaeology. And so they actually go on archaeological digs in Europe, which is really exciting for them. We have philosophy, politics, and economics, PPE, as it's called. And again, it's a very interdisciplinary degree, also bilingual. So the most popular degrees, people always ask me about this. The #1 is medicine. So we do have direct entry into our medical school, which is a 6-year program. Students apply as seniors in high school. I will only say that it's a very competitive program, and I typically only get 1 to 2 admissions a year. That means students that are actually admitted into the program, because I get many, many applications. The School of Engineering is also very, very popular. Business is also one of our most popular ones. The design degree, which is in the School of Architecture, and it doesn't require the math and physics of architecture. So for someone who also wants something very, very hands-on, extremely creative and artistic, I would direct them towards design. As I mentioned, international relations, this is within our law program, our law school. And this is for someone who wants to do something that's a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more analytical, wants to go kind of more of the law track, versus PPE, which is for someone who wants to be a little bit more interdisciplinary. But I do consider that those two degrees are related to each other. So applied management, as I mentioned, you have to come out trilingual, regardless of how you enter. And it is kind of like a business light in the sense that it doesn't have all the math. Architecture, as I mentioned, is 5 years. It's all in Spanish. Psychology, all in Spanish. And then audiovisual, as I mentioned before, too, very popular, bilingual. And then finally, let me just mention the International Foundation Program, which is what Cornelia mentioned. For our students who really want to come to the university, but they don't have a B2 level of Spanish, which is what we require for our official degrees, we recommend that they look into the International Foundation Program. So this program is basically for students who either don't have the Spanish level, they have some, they may be native Spanish speakers, but they don't all their studies in the United States, so they don't have a university level of Spanish. Or they might be students that are just, they need a little bit of time to figure out what they want to do. They're undecided. For students that didn't get into the medical degree and they still want to come and start their studies with us, we find all these profiles in the International Foundation Program. So what we will do is we will measure your level of Spanish. Depending on where you land, we will say, this is the Spanish track, the itinerary that you have to take. So these would be just pure Spanish classes of English, grammar, etc., punctuation, oral, speaking. In addition to that, then you will take freshman, sophomore year courses from all the degrees, and that way you can kind of pick and choose and have a little bit of a taste. So for someone who needs to work on their Spanish, but doesn't know if they want to study marketing or psychology, right? They could take from different degrees and see which one is a better fit for them. You can either be a semester or it can be the whole year, and then you're not committed. So some students might defer admissions in the United States and then just come for a year, do the foundation program, and then come back to the States. A lot of them do end up staying because they end up falling in love with the university, which is what happened to me. In addition to the academics, we really want our students to get involved in other things. And so students often ask me, well, can I do sports? Can I do art? Can I do volunteering? Can I do service? All of that you can do. So we have all types of clubs and committees and things that you can get involved with. And we hope that you do. We hope that you don't just spend your time studying, but that you get out there. These are some of the sports that we have on campus. And again, we are very big into outdoor stuff. Kids go skiing. In San Sebastian, they go surfing. There's always things going on outside. And we highly recommend that. As far as housing, we have a lot of different options. We are not required to live in any specific type of housing. So some students will live at home, some will live in a university hall, a residential hall, some will live in a supervised apartment, which means that they're going to have like an RA, someone that's an upperclassman living with them and kind of supervising. And then we have a lot of businesses that will just offer apartments that are very close to the campus with all sorts of services. Now, that said, we do recommend the residential halls to begin with, just because it provides a lot of structure, a lot of framework that we feel helps students build a lot of good habits. So the jump from living at home, being in high school to university life can be a little bit precarious. And we feel that the residential halls, with the curfews and with the structure, the mentoring that they provide, all the activities, really helps those students to kind of navigate that jump and navigate it successfully. So we do recommend it in the beginning, and we can talk more about that. If people want information, we can talk about that. But there's a lot of different options, and they run a broad spectrum of prices. So I would say the most expensive are going to be about $13,000 to $15,000 US a year. And then if you need to come on a very tight budget, you can probably get by with about maybe $7,000 a year. And that would be for about 10 months. I didn't mention earlier, but most of our degrees are specific to tuition, they're specific to a degree, but we say on average, we're about $15,000 US for a degree. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on the degrees of engineering, just because I think that there might be an interest in that, but I'm happy to answer any other questions at the very end. The first thing to know is, like I said, Tecnun is in San Sebastian. It's not in Pamplona. And San Sebastian, as you can see from this picture, is one of the most beautiful cities I have ever been in. And many people will tell me that also. It's got incredible food. It's very small, again, very safe, very, very high standard of living. And so this is where our School of Engineering is. The reason that it's not on our main campus is because San Sebastian is in the Basque Country. And the Basque Country, we call it the Germany of Spain. So it's basically the most industrialized, the most technological part of Spain, which is located up on the north. It's off of the ocean. And so we have a lot of agreements with Volkswagen, with the largest corporations in the train industry, in the bus industry. MIT recently signed on with us to do like a scientific park or city within San Sebastian. So that's the reason why it's there. We want our students that are studying engineering to be working arm in arm with some of these industries and with the technology that's there. And so we realized it would be a strategic move to have them there instead of on the main campus. If you go to Tecnun, then you could potentially live in the residential hall called Ayete. You can see it here pictured in the middle of the screen. It's that white building. It's very close to the beach. And this is another picture of what it looks like. So you have about, I think 100, maybe 120 guys that are living there. It's all single sex. Obviously, you don't have to live there. You can live off campus. There's other options if you want to live in an apartment. But I know that these students are very, very happy, and they're very well taken care of. And if you're one of the girls, this is Colegio Mayor Jaiscabel. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in San Sebastian. I do believe it used to be some kind of palatial residence, as you can tell. It's very beautiful, and it overlooks the ocean. And so this is where our female engineers live. So what is the student profile we're looking for with engineering? We are looking for students that are very rational. In Spain, one of the courses you take in high school is called Dibujo Técnico, which is like technical drawing. And so we are looking for people that have that skill. We're looking for a very high level of math. So I would say that students that can score a 5 on the AP or a 4 are well positioned. Physics, also an AP level 4 or 5 ideally, and chemistry. So you really need to work very, very hard on math, physics, and chemistry in order to succeed. We want students that are multifaceted, so they have a great analytical capacity, they are hardworking, they know how to solve problems. We want students that are curious. These are all very scientific degrees, and so we don't want to remove ourselves. There's a lot of theory in the beginning, and so you really have to know what you're doing. Enormous capacity for ongoing learning, someone that's nonconformist, people that are very practical, and that really just have a love of technology and management. So if you were to, for example, we do a formula student. So for those students that really love Formula One in the upperclassmen years, this is an optional project they can get involved in to do formula student racing. And so you can kind of see the way we would break down, as far as racing goes, how you would have this in a vehicle, how you would break down the engineers, right? So you'd have some that are doing mechanical engineers that are doing some of the motor pieces. You have some telecommunications engineers that are going through the GPS. You have industrial technology as an engineering. Again, so you can kind of look at that and see how we have all sorts of engineers that are working on this one project together, right? From biomedical through industrial electronics and so forth. So it's kind of cool to see how in these industries, you have need for different types of engineers working together. As I said earlier, the first year of engineering is common to all of the engineers. And the reason for that is that they want to establish a very strong base of what it is to be an engineer first. This also helps the students to not have to commit so soon to one specialized type of engineering. And so this is a rigorous, very first rigorous year. The second year, then the industrial ones start to break off, all the rest are together. Third year, again, it starts to branch out even more. And so eventually by fourth year, they're all doing their own specialization. And the neat thing about doing Tecnun, the art engineering, is that if you do our undergraduate engineering, you can get the master's in the 5th year. So you can walk out with a master's in engineering in 5 years. Now, there is an international foundation program that's specific for our School of Engineering. Now, the aim of this one is slightly different from the IFP, the foundation program in Pamplona, which is our main campus. This one, we realized that there was a need to make sure that our international students, be it from the United States or Canada or anywhere else in the world, were very strong in math. And we felt like there was a need to make sure that they were strong in math. And so in this program, it is a 2-year program. And so you're going to build up your level of math and also physics, and you're going to be working on your Spanish. And in addition to that, you're going to be having more guidance and finally building up those study habits and techniques that we feel make for a successful engineer. And so in this program, as you'll see on the next page, in the year 1, you're going to be doing quite a bit of Spanish, but you combine it with calculus, you do statistics, you're going to go into economics. And then in year 2, you're going to do more Spanish, and then you're going to combine it with algebra, physics, IT, anthropology, etc. You can see what happens in year 2. It is a heavier year. So that over those 2 years of the IFP, that is the equivalent of doing what you would have done in Tecnun in the first year. So if you stay on after the first year, 2 years of IFP, your 3rd year, you would be now a 2nd-year student at Tecnun. So it is a longer track, right? It would be a longer track, but it would put you up to speed, not only with the language, but very importantly, with the math and the physics that you would need as well. As of now, Carol is our contact. However, I believe that she may be unavailable. So if anyone is interested in this program, please let me know so that I can get the right contact right now to you. Now, finally, let me mention that there is a certificate that's called GPIE, G-P-I-E. Because our business school is so strong, they have made a program that can be combined with any degree that we offer. So these are extra credits for anyone who wants to combine a bit of an entrepreneurship business diploma to their degree, whether it's marketing or biology or engineering. They can do this. Now they do this on their extra time. Like I said, it's credits that you pay for separately. And so you have this, and you have to commit to doing this, I think, by year 2. So you can start off not committing to doing this, but by year 2 of your degree, you decide whether or not you want to do this, because I think it is a 2-year program. So where do we begin? Senior year, on exactly this date, on October 1st, is when our application opens. So we need you to enroll on miportal.unav.edu. When you go to that website, it'll ask you to register. It'll ask you to create a user, a login, password, etc., and to activate your account. This is the platform from which you will do basically everything. If you want to visit campus, you would do it through the portal, and you can get a private tour both to San Sebastián to see Tecnun, or to see Pamplona, or both. You can see different schools. You can apply to different degrees at the same time as well. This is where you would also apply. This is where, if you need an orientation test that we do offer, it is separate from applying. We can offer you an orientation test. So basically everything you need is going to start here at the portal. Senior year, we basically have 2 deadlines for international students. Our first deadline is going to be in December. So our application opens October 1st and it runs through December 9th. If you have a 7 out of 10 or GPA, then you can apply for medicine. And then for Spanish, it has to be a 7 out of 10 in Spanish if you have that. We do test your level of Spanish in all of our entrance exams, so don't worry about that. If you don't have an official certification, we will test that. The entrance exam is usually on a Saturday morning. In this case, it's December 14th. It's usually about the 2nd Saturday of December. And then we give you the decision about a month later in January. And then you have about a month more, so February 24th, to then decide if you want to reserve your spot. So that is the only catch with applying early. It is more likely to get in. You are more likely to get financial aid if you apply early, but you do have to commit earlier by February if you want to study with us. If you're not ready to commit, or if you want it to align with your other college choices, for example, in the United States, then I would say, well, maybe apply in the March deadline. So March 3rd would be the other one. And others do not have a required GPA except for medicine. The exam would be on the 15th. Again, these are exams that are online. You would download an extension on Google called Proctorio, and you would take the exam from home. It's usually about a 1 to 2 hour exam. Depending on the degree, we're going to test the subject matter that would be applicable. So for an engineering degree, we're going to test math and physics. For a biology degree, we're going to test biology, chemistry, and physics as well. It just depends. If you're doing creative writing, we wouldn't test any math or science, right? We'd be testing more of your cultural knowledge, your ability to write and so forth. And then in that March deadline, then you'd find out in April, and then you would have until May 31st. So as you all know, US schools, the reply date is May 1st. And so this would align more closely with those. So for those of you who just really don't know where you want to go, I would say maybe the March deadline, although your chances do decrease in getting accepted and getting financial aid. So you want to register a Mi Portal, as I mentioned. You do have to fill out an online form. We do not have a common app. We do not expect you to present SAT or ACT scores. So we would just do our own exam. The only exception to that would be predicted IB scores. So if you were going to graduate with the IB diploma, you can apply with predicted scores. And for most of our degrees, it's going to be a predicted of 30 to 32. The exception to that would be business is a minimum of 34. Engineering is a minimum of 34. And the School of Medicine is a minimum of 37. And then within those, if you need information, there's specific subjects that you have to have a minimum as well for medicine and for engineering and for business. And so we can talk about that later. So then in addition to that, you're going to have a passport. We're going to look basically at your junior year GPA, so your transcript. We do need to have a picture of you, kind of like a passport photo like picture, a recommendation letter. It can be in English, and then €100 payment. So with that €100 payment, you can apply up to 2 different degrees. So if you're interested in applying to 2 different degrees, please let me know so that you only have to pay one time. Then you're going to apply. So you're going to request admission. If you finish by that deadline, we will give you access to the admissions exam. It can be taken in English, except for the Spanish part, of course, where we're testing your level of Spanish. You would take the exam. We'll give you the resolution. One other thing that's not mentioned here is that I do interview all the students. So I would probably set up a Zoom meeting with you to interview and to see if you're a good fit. And then from that point on, if you decide to commit to studying with us, then I would help you with the rest of the application or the admissions process. So with enrollment, if you need a student visa, so if you're not an EU citizen, then you would need a student visa in order to study with us. And then I would help you with the high school validation process. So admission criteria, it's a little bit different between medicine and nursing versus the other degrees. 60% will be your junior year GPA. We will be looking specifically at the classes you take. We do not accept AP courses officially, but I do value that those students that do take AP or honors courses and are getting good grades. And then the admission exam will be 40% of the decision. With medicine and nursing, the admission exam is going to be 70% of the decision, and 30% of the decision is your junior year GPA. So we do have 2 dates that we invite students to come to our university campus. It would be the 16th of November and the 22nd of February. Now, that said, we do have a lot of students that will come and do private tours, especially during Thanksgiving break and during spring break, because that's when most US students have off. Now, that said, you can come during any time. I definitely recommend coming during the school year. Obviously, if you can only come in the summer, that's fine too, although you won't see the campus and the university life as you would as a student. And I would absolutely avoid the dates of the running of the bulls. So that would be early July. I do not recommend going because it's the whole city becomes a festival, and it's not a good time to visit the university. And then we have another open day, which is the 15th of February. Again, we do also do things online. So if you're interested in one of these, you can sign up, and they do webinars and they do all sorts of things. We also have a 360 virtual tour that you can take. And so we'd like to bring the campus as close to you as possible. I believe that there's a video here. I don't know, Cornelia, do you want me to play it, or do you want to just skip over that? Play? Okay, let's see if this plays well. This is just I think it's like a 2-minute video. Let's see if it doesn't lag too much here.
We don't hear a sound, so you can maybe tell. Um, it's okay. It's
Hola.
okay. That's fine. That's fine. It's beautiful. The picture is by itself, but you might want to say a couple things what we see maybe.
Okay. So this is my contact. Can you see it okay? So my name is Martha Martinez. It's California at unav.es. And I think with that, I can stop screen sharing. And I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to mention, Cornelia.
Um, yeah, let me see. So before we move into the Q&A, let me just put on the last slide. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, that was so informative, and it's great to get an overview of all the degrees that are offered for the international students.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
thank you for explaining that so well. I learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
Yeah. So before we go into the Q&A, maybe everyone wants to take a screenshot of the information shared here with the contact information, so you can get in contact with Martha later on for any follow-up questions. Actually, I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now. So why don't we just move
Okay.
into my questions that I have for you?
Great.
Um,
Great.
you actually answered a lot of my initial questions that I had. A couple of things that maybe I misunderstood or maybe weren't that clear for me. When you mentioned the foundation year for the engineering program, uh, so after they studied for the 2 years, do students seamlessly transition into the uh, second year of the official engineering program, or do they have
Yes.
to take a test?
I believe I mean, provided they pass their courses. So provided they've passed the courses within the foundation program, then they would enter as second year students. And at
Oh,
that point, after 2 years, they should be fine. Yeah.
okay, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And you mentioned also that it's required to have a certain level of Spanish in
Right.
order to apply to the foundation year. Is that correct? So not only for the regular degrees, but also for the foundation year, you need to have a certain level of Spanish.
No, for the foundation, forgive me if it was unclear. So no, you do not have to have any specific level of Spanish. So we have some students that don't really speak Spanish and come for the foundation. And so no, there is no level required for the foundation program. For the official
Oh, okay.
degrees, yes, but not for foundation. And I have seen that students that their Spanish was very minimal, in a year's time, they are fluent. So again, it depends on the student. It depends on how quickly they pick up the language, how much work they put in, but I have seen it happen and it's really remarkable. So I tell students, think of it as a very good use of your time. This is not a wasted year. This is a year that you're going to build yourself, have experiences, travel, meet people, push yourself, get yourself out of your comfort zone in all sorts of ways. And so it is a very good use of a year or two in the case of Tecnun. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you. And that's actually wonderful that there is no previous level required, previous Spanish level,
Yeah.
since it opens the doors for so many students who want to maybe go to Spain and study there, but haven't maybe had maybe only one class of Spanish. So that's
Right.
wonderful to know.
That's true.
Perfect. Then hold on, what was my other question? Oh yeah, regarding tuition, you shortly mentioned like EU students and international students. Is there a difference in terms of what they pay per degree, or is that overall
No.
for
So we
everyone the
charge
same?
the same for whether you're from Spain or from the EU or for anywhere in the world. I will mention that we do have a large family discount. So if you have 3 children in your family under the age of 25 that are dependent, we will give you an 8% discount off of tuition. If you have 5 or more children dependent, again, under 25, we give a 16% discount off of tuition. In addition to that, you will notice that the application does ask you if you want a financial aid study. If you click yes, then you would send your parents, both parents' income information, and they would do a need-based study. So we have need-based aid. If your family does qualify based off of need, and if you're a senior in high school, depending on your grades, they could invite you then to also apply for merit plus need scholarship. So we have one pool that's need-based aid that you can apply to. Then you have a second one that it's by invitation to do a need plus merit scholarship. And then, of course, for most of our degrees, with the exception of medicine and nursing, you can apply to FAFSA, so federal financial aid. And at the time being, I believe we're the only Spanish university that can apply for FAFSA, which is great
okay,
too.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
great. I'm glad you
that is in
mentioned that.
terms of loans, not grants. So you
Right,
can apply for
right.
FAFSA.
But still, it
Yeah,
helps, right? So
it does help. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Um, Can you tell us a little bit in terms of internships and research opportunities that students would have at your school?
Yeah, so we do have an office that helps students that want to do internships and research. And so my advice is that every student has an advisor. So as soon as you know your advisor is, get in touch with them, because typically they're within the field that you want to study. And so you start building a relationship there. And so I would say get in touch with your advisor, ask them if they have opportunities or they can connect you with people, and then start leveraging those connections. So even after your freshman year summer, start working on those connections. Like I said, we have an office that can help you, whether or not you want to stay in Spain or you want to come back to the United States. And so slowly you start working on that. And like I said, yeah, we have a very big research university. And so we have different centers depending on what kind of research you want to do, whether it's social science or where it's biomedical, et cetera, engineering. And so we would also connect you with, sometimes it's upperclassmen that are doing research, sometimes it's professors. And so we're hoping that we can, because that's really what keeps us on the cutting edge. That's what we want students to be able to do, that research, and to hopefully publish, right? Even as undergraduates, or at least be on some papers so they can kind of get their foot in the door, because typically it's through those internships, it's through that research that you land your first job. And I didn't mention it in the presentation, but we are ranked very, very high as far as when you survey employers throughout the world where they like to get students. Navarra ranks, I want to say, in the 40s. Top 40 university, because our students come out so well prepared. And so they really like to hire students from Navarra because they know they're so well formed, and they also have the practical side as well. So a lot of hands-on learning.
Wow, that's really good. It's great to hear also that they have the opportunity to participate in research already as an undergraduate student.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of unusual for
Yeah.
Europe, right? At least what I
It
have
might
heard so
be.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's wonderful. So I don't see any other questions in the Q&A either, and I have asked all my questions too. So
Great.
thank you so much for your time today, and for introducing us to Navarra, to the university. I'm really happy that you could make the time for that.
Thank you.
So for everyone who joined us a little bit later, I want you to know that we have recorded the webinar, and we will post it later on our Global College Advisors YouTube channel this month. Again, thank you again for your wonderful presentation, Martha. And
Thank you. I appreciate the chance to be here.
yeah, thanks. And hopefully many students will get in contact with you, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity, not only being in Spain, starting out, even if you don't speak any Spanish, you have the option actually to do a full degree in Spain. That's great.
Yeah.
So last but not least, before we close, I want to let you know that we have our next webinar scheduled this upcoming Saturday at 10 a.m. with École Polytechnique in France. It's a perfect university for all math and science enthusiasts. École Polytechnique was supposed to be our last webinar actually for this fall, but we have a surprise guest. Radboud University in the Netherlands will be with us on the following Saturday, on October 12th at 10 a.m. and tell us all about their many English taught programs, including some exciting new science degree programs. You can view the full webinar schedule on our website and register there as well. And yeah, with that, thank you very much for joining us. And I wish everyone a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care. Goodbye. And I look forward to seeing you this Saturday at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.